This is the Brave New Coin Crypto Conversation, hosted by Andy Pickering.
Hi everyone, Andy Pickering here. I'm your host and welcome to the Crypto Conversation, a Brave New Coin podcast where we talk to the people building the future in the Bitcoin, blockchain and cryptocurrency space. Hey team, we have a new sponsor here at the Crypto Conversation, BitGet, one of the world's leading copy trading cryptocurrency exchanges. Yes, indeed. What happens if you've got the funds to invest, but you don't have the time to keep track of the market? You still want to make smart money moves. What do you do? Well, copy trading is a popular choice for beginner traders. You can shorten your learning curve by uncovering tips and strategies from more experienced traders. BitGet's copy trading platform has over 80,000 elite traders to choose from and 380,000 followers just like yourself who are already using the BitGet copy trading platform as a potential passive income stream. All it takes is one click. You can subscribe to an elite, profitable strategist, set your limits, automate your orders, and monitor their trades. I've got some links in the show notes below. One link will take you through to the BitGet sign-up page, give you a VIP discount. So learn all about it for yourself thanks to BitGet. And now it is on with the show. Hey folks, Andy here, and yes, firstly, thanks to BitGet for sponsoring the show. As I mentioned, that VIP link to sign up to BitGet is in the show notes, and if you use that link, you can sign up and trade to get a $50 bonus. Yes, indeed, $50 bonus in USDT. So, what are you waiting for? Sign up to BitGet and redeem your $50 in USDT just by following the link in the show notes. All right, and well, it's on with the show. Slightly different show today. I actually had a few podcasts lined up this week that for various reasons have been delayed, just scheduling conflicts, all that kind of stuff, which does sometimes happen, as I'm sure you can appreciate in the podcast game. So lots of interesting podcasts on the way. But because I hadn't put one out this week, and again, as I say, had a number of scheduling conflicts, so I thought, well, what shall I do? I'm just going to put out a quick podcast where I talk to myself. Do enjoy doing that every now and again. Really, it is a PSA. Yes, indeed, it's a public service announcement. Did you know that the next Bitcoin halving is around, well, 334 days away. Yes, 334 days until the next Bitcoin halving. So just wanted to run through a couple of quick data points today. For example, did you know this year, 2023, it has been a pretty good year for Bitcoin? Hopefully you've noticed. But yeah, in the first 4 months of this year, Bitcoin price really is up 74% at peak, which is not bad really. So yeah, we're up around 30k a week or two ago, down to around 27,000 as I record this. But yeah, but not too bad considering where the lows were, around 16k back in November last year. And this performance this year off the bottom, of course, contrasts starkly, if you like, with 2022, which of course was a difficult year indeed for Bitcoin and the wider crypto market following, you know this, but following the collapse of Terra Luna, BlockFi, Celsius, FTX, all those big names, which, yeah, just imploded really, didn't they? Three Arrows Capital as well. So after all those unfortunate implosions and of course a slumping global economy, well, yeah, I mean, as we know, 2022 was a bear market year for crypto. So yeah, I think Bitcoin dropped around 64% in 2022. So, despite all that, despite the dramas, the liquidations, the collapse of those big names in crypto, despite a lot of new regulatory headwinds this year, particularly in the US and the Europe as well, and the EU as well. But despite all this, yeah, buying pressure for Bitcoin continues. Now, it's not to say that we won't have more downside ahead. You know, the global economy does continue to wobble. Banking crisis in the US, runaway inflation, interest rate hikes. Yeah, it's been a tough time. So it's not to say that there couldn't be more downside ahead. I don't think that would surprise anyone. But even against all of these headwinds, yeah, as I say, price performance year to date, Bitcoin up over 70%, Ethereum up around 60%, S&P 500 up 6.1, gold 9.7. So, you know, are we surprised to see that Bitcoin is still showing the beta? Bitcoin is number one again. So, yeah, I guess that's the backdrop then. As I say, there are 334 days until the next Bitcoin halving, and I should mention that is not an exact calculation. Obviously, that is depends on how quickly all the Bitcoin blocks get processed. But yeah, that's an estimate, and I actually got that estimate from Google Bard, which is Google's new large language model or AI platform. It's very similar to ChatGPT 3 or 4, but they've just released a new version of Bard, and I've been playing around with it. It's good. It's good. I like it. Yeah, similar to ChatGPT 3 or 4, as I say, but yeah, there are some differences as well. It gives you 3 different drafts in its response, so you can kind of get different takes on the same answer, whatever you ask it, and also has a microphone, so you can ask your question or speak your input into it, which I like as well. I think a lot of people will like that. So yeah, so what else did Google Bard have to say? He said he, she, it, pick your AI descriptor, but Google Bard says yes indeed, the next Bitcoin halving is expected to take place on or around April the 10th, 2024, and this of course is when the reward for mining a block of Bitcoin will be cut in half. So the current mining reward is 6.25 BTC. Following the April 2024 halving, that reward will be cut in half to 3.125 BTC. And of course, as Google Bard tells us, the halving occurs every 210,000 blocks, which is approximately every 4 years. As I'm sure you know, the Bitcoin halving is a significant event in the Bitcoin network because, as discussed, it reduces the supply of half of new Bitcoin that is being created. And, you know, historically, I think it's fair to say that this can tend to lead to an increase in the price of Bitcoin as demand for the asset increases relative to the supply. That's the theory. You know, people can pick holes in that theory, but that has tended to happen historically so far. So first Bitcoin halving took place November 2012, second July 2016, and the third halving was May 11, 2020, deep in the early stages of the pandemic. So look, I mean, you know, no one knows what will happen. Past performance is not necessarily predictive of the future, but yeah, I think a lot of Bitcoin bulls generally tout the halving as being a powerful bullish tailwind, and traditionally investors have looked at this 4-year cycle. So generally leading up to halvings, Bitcoin can start to look bullish, and then afterwards, can really take off into that next bull market cycle. So yeah, are we expecting that to happen again? Look, too soon to say, but yeah, be good if it did. So that's I think what a lot of people will be looking towards, and we'll just see if that price structure of Bitcoin continues to play out. In the meantime, hash rate is up. Yeah, like the Bitcoin hash rate has been hitting all-time highs, seems to indicate that a lot of new Bitcoin miners have come online, because the Bitcoin hash rate, or the total computing power directed towards the Bitcoin blockchain, I think it hit 439 exahashes per second, which is a lot. If you look at any of those charts, the hash rate is just an order of magnitude higher or larger than it was 4 years ago. So yeah, interesting that Bitcoin blockchain is getting stronger, or more protected, or more energy directed towards it. I saw on Twitter today the Texas House and Senate have just passed House Bill 591 that states that flared gas can be used on site by Bitcoin miners, which will reduce carbon emissions. And so I think that's a win-win for the environment. It's a win-win for Bitcoin. It just opens up a new way for miners and for gas producers to mitigate and monetize those emissions, those methane emissions. So yeah, it's good to see. There's more miners in Russia. There's more in US. There was a big article in Forbes that said the Kingdom of Bhutan, I hope I'm saying that right, has been quietly mining Bitcoin for years. That was the headline. So yeah, the Kingdom of Bhutan is beneath the Himalayas, and of course they have a large river network that is fed by a series of ancient glaciers, which supply the tiny Kingdom of Bhutan with immense stores of hydroelectricity. So this is a renewable resource, and it has become an economic engine for the kingdom, accounting for 30% of the country's GDP and fueling the homes of most of its 800,000 residents. But for the last few years, reports Forbes, Bhutan's royal government has been quietly devising a new use for these hydroelectric reserves, powering its own Bitcoin mine or Bitcoin data center. So yeah, I think so. Forbes says the data center is about a 100 megawatt operation hooked into one of its hydroelectric plants. And it says this level of spending would equate to a data center the size of several football fields. So not small, but it's not on the kind of global scale of Bitcoin mining. That's not massive either. Like I think Riot's Rockdale facility in Texas has a 450 megawatt capacity, but the Kingdom of Bhutan data center at 100 megawatt would be roughly on par with some other large projects such as Russia's Bit River mine and the operation in Itaipu in Paraguay, which draws electricity from one of the world's largest dams. So yeah, interesting. I mean, and it kind of begs the question: are there any other little kingdoms, little nation states that are doing something similar on the DL, on the down low, on the sneak tip? Don't know, but it'll be interesting to see. Anyway, so as I say, 334 days to the next halving. Under a year, it's like about 11 months, I suppose. So what do we expect to happen before the halving? I mean, in terms of Bitcoin, well, the standard answer is it'll go a little bit up, it'll go down, it'll go sideways, it'll be as volatile as it always is. But Dave the Wave on Twitter, he's a Bitcoin technical analyst, probably one of the more sensible, conservative, mature, contrarian technical analysts, in my view anyway. So he put a chart out, and he says the weekly MACD setup is similar to 2015, suggesting a 5-month sideways consolidating range before the next move up, which probably makes sense. I think that would be it would be a good scenario for Bitcoin. Just steady as she goes, sideways, really a sideways period of consolidation and accumulation as the next halving slowly draws closer. And then perhaps as we do start to get closer, of course, you'll see a lot more talk of the Bitcoin halving getting closer in the media, on social media, and then perhaps people will start to get a bit more aggressive at positioning and getting into it, which would make sense. So we'll see. Interesting. Dave also said that it's difficult to say what the kind of the price of the next Bitcoin bull market peak might be. But Dave, on his chart, he charts out a possible peak of around 157,000 US around the end of 2024. So that's a possible price target. And as I say, Dave is he's conservative. He's not, he's conservative is how I would describe it. So as much as that sounds like a large price target, it's achievable. Doesn't mean we'll get there, but I think it is achievable. Another, it's a report that came out last month. It's called How to Position for the Bitcoin Boom. The report was issued by Adamant, is that how you say it? Adamant Research, which of course is led by Ter de Meister, and Ter has put out one of these reports. This is the third report that he's put out, I think of the same title. So he puts these out every 4 years or so. In the introduction to the report, he says, Adamant Research, we pride ourselves in speaking up when investor apathy rules the day. Each time we published one of our Bitcoin reports in 2012, 2015, and 2019, it was during periods of significant Bitcoin undervaluation. Once more so today. At 60% below its 2021 all-time high, we believe the current bear market represents an exceptional opportunity for value investors. And so, you can download the report yourself. Just Google How to Position for the Bitcoin Boom by Ter de Meister or Adamant Capital, and you'll find it. But essentially, they say again in the intro, during each of its cycles, Bitcoin faces significant challenges, and each time it has more than lived up to those challenges. Today is no different. We see extraordinarily strong fundamentals, robust technological progress, and an unparalleled level of conviction among long-time Bitcoin investors, all ready to fuel a global buying spree and sustained new adoption. So during this accumulation phase, we expect Bitcoin to trade in the range of 22,000 to 42,000 until a new multi-year bull market pushes it well north of 120,000. So, yeah. I guess the conclusions suggested by the report very simply, blockchain analysis indicates that Bitcoin is undervalued. Bitcoin is on the brink of decoupling with stocks and crypto. The global macro predicament is a powerful tailwind for Bitcoin. That's the banking crisis, inflation. Bitcoin startup investing is complicated yet attractive. Bitcoin nation-state adoption is set to become a big theme. And collaborative custody is a good option for novice investors. Those are the conclusions, so you can get more colour around each of those headlines if you get the report. But yeah, I think it's just interesting that, as I say, they've put out these reports every 4 years, and traditionally, with the benefit of hindsight, those reports have been right. And again, it's just another way of looking at the 4-year Bitcoin halving cycle. So I guess. We're in the quiet but boring phase at the moment. It's the accumulation in the year before the Bitcoin halving. So, do with that info what you will. Going back to Google Bard, I asked Google Bard, I said, is Bitcoin a good investment? And Google Bard says whether or not Bitcoin is a good investment is a subjective question that depends on your individual financial goals and risk tolerance. Bitcoin is a volatile asset and its price can fluctuate wildly. This means there is a chance of losing money if you invest in Bitcoin. However, there is also the potential to make a lot of money if you invest in Bitcoin and the price goes up. Google Bard then says, here are some pros and cons of investing in Bitcoin. Pros: Bitcoin is a decentralized currency outside of government or financial institutional control. Bitcoin is secure. as it is. Its transactions are verified on a decentralized network or a distributed ledger called a blockchain. Bitcoin is anonymous and Bitcoin is scarce. Those are the pros. The cons: Bitcoin is volatile, Bitcoin is not widely accepted, and Bitcoin is a relatively new asset, and there is a lack of regulation in the cryptocurrency market. So absolutely standard stuff that you'd expect to find if you Googled Bitcoin, or indeed if you ask Google Bard AI. But I thought that was a fairly measured response. Anyway, so then I said to Google Bard, what are some possible Bitcoin investment strategies given that the halving is 11 months away? So with the Google Bard gave us a standard disclaimer. Any decisions to invest are, of course, up to you. Do your research, understand the risks before making any investment decisions. But then Bard says, here are some possible investment strategies given the Bitcoin halving is 11 months away. Number one, dollar cost averaging, DCA. Yep, slow and steady, buy a little bit of Bitcoin every week, set and forget. Probably can't argue with that. Buy the dip, says Google Bard. This is a strategy where you wait for the price of Bitcoin to fall and buy at a lower price. Can be a risky strategy, but rewarding if you time it right. It's hard to time, though. It's hard to time. Most people can't do it. That's why DCA is often the way to go. Another strategy, says Google Bard, hold. Just buy and hold for the long term. Yep, can't argue with that. And then, as I said before, Google Bard gives you three options. Like, it gives you three different draft answers. So that was the first draft, but then I went to the third draft, and it gives us a couple more options, which one is sell before the halving. So it says some investors believe the price of Bitcoin will peak before the halving and then decline afterwards. So if you believe that to be the case, sell before the halving. Another strategy: buy after the halving. Some investors believe that the price of Bitcoin will dip after the halving as some investors sell and take profits, and that's when you can buy. So, again, no one really knows what will happen. Certainly not Google Bard, but there you go, some possible strategies. Interesting. I also asked Google Bard, is Bitcoin good for the world? And Google Bard says, whether or not Bitcoin is good for the world is a complex question with no easy answer. There are both potential drawbacks and benefits to consider. Potential benefits are: Bitcoin could help to reduce inflation and financial instability. Bitcoin can provide a more efficient and secure way to make payments. Bitcoin can promote financial inclusion and economic development. And Bitcoin can help to protect people's privacy and financial freedom. The drawbacks, same as before really. Bitcoin is volatile, it's not widely accepted, it's a new asset, lack of regulation. So there you go. Ultimately, says Google Bard, the decision of whether or not Bitcoin is good for the world is up for each individual to decide. There are potential benefits and drawbacks to consider, and it's important to weigh them carefully before making a decision. Common sense stuff, but if people just continue to, the more people that are buying and holding Bitcoin, and when the halving kicks in, 334 days to go. Well, if the same number of people are buying, but the number of new Bitcoins issued gets cut in half, well, that's going to be bullish, isn't it? Simple as that, really. So I hope you enjoyed that. It's just 23 minutes I've been talking to myself about the Bitcoin halving. Thank you, Google Bard. So what are my takeaways? Takeaways are there are 334 days to go until the Bitcoin halving, and I suggest you play around with Google Bard if you haven't already. Similar to ChatGPT, but different. And the main advantage, of course, is Google Bard is completely connected to the internet, which is a bit of a game changer. So be interesting to see, OpenAI have a bit of a head start on all these other AI platforms, but it's a long game. Anyway, I think we'll leave it there. Please remember to subscribe to the Crypto Conversation and whatever podcast app you are using. Give us a nice review, all that good stuff. Thanks for listening, team. Lots of good new interview podcasts on the way next week. Thanks again. And sign up to BitGet. Get yourself $50, $50 bonus if you sign up using the VIP link in the show notes below. Thanks, team, and bye for now. 334 days to go.